Hello, West Fargo educators. We wanted to take a moment to provide some oversight on the implementation of standards-based grading at West Fargo middle schools. Research, education experts, and practitioners have emphasized that assessment and grading practices need to 1. Have meaning, 2. Support learning, 3. Be consistent across classrooms, and 4. Enhance student motivation to learn. Schimmer, in his recent book, Grading from the Inside Out, acknowledges that standards-based grading and assessment practices have significant impact on students' growth mindset and self-confidence. Meta-analysis conducted by Black and William in 1998 and Hattie in 2009 demonstrate that high-quality formative assessment and feedback is one of the leading educational practices to positively impact student achievement. Standards-based grading and assessment practices provide the methodology that includes accuracy, meaning, consistency, and motivation for all students to achieve.
We used to believe that student achievement was distributed normally, that some students would learn little, the mass of students would learn quite a bit, and then some students would learn a whole lot. Now we're understanding that ability doesn't define whether a child can learn. It really defines how much time it might take them and what kind of instruction they might need. So when you think about grades, they're not really distributed in a normal distribution, with just a few A's and a few B's and lots of C's and so forth. We know now that if we do a good job of managing instruction and time, that we can get the majority of our students to perform at high levels on most of what we teach in school. So the old grading system of A, B, C, D, F is not as well suited to what we're trying to accomplish now. Rather, a standards-based report system is more valid, where we can conceivably have all students achieving at a very high standard. So that's why we're transitioning in that direction.
We elected to report grades using a simple 1, 2, 3, 4 system rather than a complicated code. We thought this would be easier for parents to interpret since they are accustomed to it at the elementary level, as well as easier for us to manage. We purposely do not have a 5-point scale with a middle score. We are working to move away from the bell-shaped curve in both our assessment and in our student performance.
We are using standards-based grading, but we are not putting all of the North Dakota state standards on our report card. The standards on our report card refer to our targeted learning categories. These categories are aligned to our instructional plan, our curriculum, and of course our scope and sequence includes all of those state standards. Our proficiency scales for each quarter indicate the expectations for what our students are targeted to know and be able to do. Our goal is to provide meaningful feedback regarding student performance.
We continuously move the target, so if students continue to attain it, then they are doing exactly what we expect. Our purpose for reporting grades is to let students and parents know how a student is performing. Our purpose is not to categorize students into groups. Instead, we are measuring how each student is progressing towards a standard level of learning.
Each academic area has defined quarterly proficiency scales for specific learning categories. These categories of reporting often include more than one academic standard as defined by the state of North Dakota. The academic standards required have been prioritized and placed into a scope and sequence, which aligns to the statements reflected in the proficiency scales for each quarter. The entire statement for the category is to be considered at the end of the grading period when determining whether a student has achieved a 3 or meeting expectations.
Students who are meeting expectations will receive a score of 3. Students who are closely approaching the mark will receive a score of 2. Those significantly below expectations will receive a score of 1. Students who are greatly exceeding expectations will receive a score of 4. The 4 is not equivalent to an A. Our goal is that the vast majority of students will receive 3s, which is great. It means that our instruction and curriculum is working to help them make educational gains.
Our guaranteed and viable curriculum identifies the standards that are prioritized for each grade level and each unit of study. Remember that the resources that we provide are like the vehicle that teachers are provided to drive on this highway. The teacher is still in the driver's seat, using their professional judgment to determine when the cruise control is on or when the road requires them to be more alert or move more slowly.
Students are not achieving or reaching the standards during the quarter. The teacher needs to unpack the standards to create targeted learning steps, thinking about what needs to come before certain skills in order for kids to be successful. The teacher may need to break down those complex skills and strategies into smaller instructional units so the learning is in smaller chunks for the entire class or small group.
Students who are in special programs may receive an asterisk on their report card. This is our legal way of indicating that a student's curriculum has been modified significantly to the point that they are no longer working on the standards expected at that grade level. When an asterisk is used on the report card, it is accompanied by a standard legal statement in the comment section. We are not allowed to note on a report card that a student is in special education or other special services. In order to utilize an asterisk, the student needs to be receiving special services of some kind. This can include special education, alternate core, below grade level, EL, title, reading, etc. A classroom teacher provides many accommodations in his or her classroom. As long as the student is working on grade level standards, no asterisk is needed. Grades for students in alternate cores or special programs are made in collaboration with the specialists. The specialists help determine whether the student should receive an asterisk with a 3, meaning they are meeting their specified learning targets, or an asterisk with a 2, meaning they are making progress toward the learning targets as specified. The asterisk is not available with a 1. Students who are not making progress can simply be indicated with a 1. Special programming should be adjusted so that they are at least making progress towards a goal.
The academic proficiency scales, as defined by our curriculum committee, will be only about student knowledge and performance, what they know and are able to do. They will not factor in whether or not the student has been late with several assignments. They will not factor in bonus points for doing an extra assignment. They will not factor in old grades from the beginning of the quarter, but instead what the student has shown they have learned.
We value components of student performance beyond academics. These are often referred to as soft skills. We've determined 4 key areas on our college and career readiness scale that will be assessed each quarter. Unlike academics that move every quarter, these targets remain the same. Students will receive a 3, 2, 1 in character, citizenship, collaboration, and organization.
Our middle school students receive formal feedback through report cards each quarter. A specific time for grading provides an opportunity for both student and teacher reflection, a critical component of the learning process. Teachers continually monitor progress toward the learning targets throughout the quarter using formative assessments, looking at performance overall, and trend data along with summative assessments in order to provide a grade. Student performance is measured according to the proficiency scales for the quarter. Reteaching and reassessment opportunities are allowed within the quarter, providing students the opportunity to gain understanding and demonstrate their proficiency.
Our teachers are utilizing effective instructional strategies and best practices in our classrooms. This includes the use of frequent formative assessment. Formative assessments are not meant or designed to be averaged to compute a final grade. Calculating traditional letter grades can take valuable time away from meaningful planning, reflection, and timely feedback.
When it's time to report, it's time to reflect. Look at the learning trends from formative assessment along the way. It's not time for a single measure or final exam because any single measure of learning can be unreliable. We recommend using several indicators to determine students' grades.
We will continually monitor and improve our curriculum, what we teach, and how we teach it. The curriculum is the action plan utilized at each grade level, building upon previous instruction. Our curriculum is our chosen path, but the road we take is always changing.
Our focus is on research-based instruction and best practices. We know that learning does not come from resources alone, but from experiences with good instruction in the classroom. The classroom teacher has the largest impact on student achievement, and teachers supporting teachers through professional learning communities is the highest form of professional development.
We are changing our grading practices to align with an instructional system that fosters formative assessment and meaningful feedback. The most effective grading practices provide accurate, specific, and timely feedback designed to improve student performance.
Teachers observe students while they are learning and often ask them to complete tasks every day. This is formative assessment because it informs your future instruction. Teachers work collaboratively each week with their team, looking at student performance in the PLC. Meaningful assessments are the driving force behind productive PLC discussions. We are making shifts in our instructional practice, using more and more formative assessments that provide accurate, specific, and timely feedback. We want our feedback to have an impact on student performance so that all of our students can be successful.
We are here to help you with this change, offering additional resources to help you with the logistics, and we're always here to answer your questions. Remember that standards-based grading is connected to what happens every day in your classrooms. When it's time to report a grade for a student, it's time to look in the rearview mirror and see how the student has progressed. It doesn't matter if he or she wasn't in the same path when the quarter began. It doesn't matter if they had a few fender benders along the way, or even if they had a flat tire. The only thing that matters is whether or not they have arrived at the destination when it's time to report. If they are almost there, they're likely a 2. If they've arrived, no matter the path, they've achieved a 3. Assigning standards-based grades is a reflective practice, one that helps the teacher determine the best path to take the next quarter.